Hello, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Happy Wednesday. I'm Mr. Menifee, and today we on the POINTE Podcast. As you know, every Wednesday we do our POINTE Podcast. Today we got a special guest that's going to be talking about fixing and flipping to fixing and holding. They've been in the business for about 3 or 4 years, but the unique thing about this gentleman is he's been in the business, and in the past 3 years, he done fix and flip from 11 to 15 properties. He hold about, he'll tell you about how many he's holding now. But like I say, fixing and flipping to fixing and holding. As you know, with POINTE Podcast, everything is always real estate and business. So I guess today we'll talk to you guys on how he got started and what he possibly could do to maybe help you guys get started as well if you have an interest in it. But again, I will hope you guys tune in to our POINTE Podcast. The company, RMN Investments and RMN Construction. RMN Investment and RMN Construction. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Mr. Menifee with POINTE Podcast. I see you inside. Hey, everybody, how y'all doing out there? Mr. Menifee here, POINTE Podcast. And today we got a special guest over here, one of my good partners as well, here to talk about a lot of fixing and flipping that he does. His name is Mr. Riyad. You know, he got into the fixing and flipping business about, I want to say, I'll let him tell you. But at POINTE Podcast, y'all know how we do it. We like to salute. We're going to toast to Mr. Riyad's birthday. Happy birthday to my partner.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, sip it.
Oh, yeah.
You put the motherfucker down and sip it.
Oh, you sip it?
Mm-hmm. Alright, so let's jump on into POINTE Podcast with Mr. Riyad. I'm going to let him introduce himself first. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Riyad Nabab with RMN Investment Group, also RMN Construction. I guess me and Jay have been partners for probably like 20 years plus right now.
Yeah.
And he got me here to speak with you guys today. And I'm gonna let him take it on from there.
All right, now let's hop on in it. Right. Today at POINTE Podcast, you know, everything we talk about at POINTE is always about business. It's always about something to do with real estate. Always, because POINTE is real estate. That's what got us started. That's what we live and breathe by, real estate. So, we're going to start with this. Mr. Nabar, on the introduction, you can give your name and number. Tell us what got you started in the real estate business, as far as fixing and flipping, or just the real estate period.
Well, I got started in real estate probably back in the early 2000s. Not as far as too much on investing, but just learning about the business, loans, because I know GL, real estate period because of the counterparts and everything that I was surrounded with. I officially started investing in real estate back in 2012, bought my first real estate property. It was a condo located up in Buckhead. I held on to that I bought it pretty low, was able to get very good cash flow off of it, kept it for 5-6 years, and was able to sell and make a very good profit off of it, along with the cash flow that I produced during the time that I had it. From there, I started getting into fixing and flips. I started that passion back in 2000, probably was as soon as 2016, 17. I purchased my first flips. I purchased 2 properties at the same time from at the time he was a wholesaler, but now he's a very good friend of mine. He was able to show me how to purchase these properties from him, and he gave them to me and told me, hey, now go fix and flip them.
Go fix and flip them.
Yeah, go fix and flip them.
Hey, get out there. He'll push you in the water.
Yeah, he pushed me in the water. So at the time, I didn't know anything about fix and flips, but what I am is I'm good as far as relationships and finding out information on how to move forward. So I got out there, started learning, meeting contractors and and different people that was able to guide me. I ride by different properties that I see that's being fixed and flip on, and I go and talk to the guys and talk to the people there and try to get more information. So I started fixing my first property of the 2 that I bought in 2017. It was a full gut. It was a burnout house. Had a big hole in the roof. I met some guys, some contractors that was able to get me started and get me going. And as you keep going on in the business, you learn like different things that you shouldn't do and you should do. Contractors don't really teach it to you, but you'll learn it as you go.
So you talk about the contractors.
Yeah.
How hard it is to find good contractors to keep them on your team.
It's super hard to find good contractors to keep them on your team. You know, the biggest thing that I've learned about contracting is you never let them get ahead of you as far as on the finances. And you also make them be, what's the word I'm looking for? You make them be responsible for the work that they do. So you always got to be checking up on them, because one thing that people's trying to do is they trying to cut corners on how to make more money. And that's the real estate business. That you try to get your budget and everything lower than what it is. That's how you're able to produce income. With contractors, they try to cut corners to raise the volume of what they were able to put in their pockets, besides what they were able to pay their guys, the work that they do, and different things like that.
I know about the contractors, because I deal with quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned about these contractors is, what I do now, even with the development now, I make sure they don't buy no material, because I've found in the past that the contractors, what they do is, you allow them to purchase your material. They end up purchasing materials and giving you a higher cost, and then on top of that, they purchase material for another job. Now, I know you got quite a few flips up under your belt. That's why I always been trying to get them on the show, y'all, because it's one of my good partners. And I just was amazed myself with the way he started fixing and flipping and about all the different properties. But I know you done ran to that as far as contractors going out buying the material and you find out they're doing another job.
Well, the good thing about how I was brought into the business is I had got a mentor that already knew some things, and he showed me the ways. He showed me the ways of doing things. So I've never ever let a contractor go buy materials for me without me paying the bill, even if it's phone sale or anything, because I'm able to control and keep up with the materials that I'm able to get.
Controlling the cost.
Yeah, I'm controlling the cost, and I'm just knowing exactly what he's buying. So it's not like he's able to charge me extra or anything like that. Of course, you know, and when you get a quote, going to pick up materials is necessarily not in my contractors and them job description. So I do look out for them as far as delivery, or if the delivery is big enough to where Home Depot or wherever I get my materials and stuff from is able to deliver it at a cost, then we go over and move forward with that. But no, I never had a chance to experience that part of that part of it. Yeah.
So you come from, matter of fact, where you from? Let them know where you from.
Oh, I'm from South Bend, Indiana. I moved to Atlanta back in '94. I started off
1994.
Yeah, 1994. And I started off being a barber, and that's when I started surrounding myself with different people. I met JL back in the 90s.
1990s.
1990 something. And then we just became close. You know what I mean? We just became real close. We got like big stories, big history, big everything.
Yeah.
You said we done it together. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's right. He was at the 50th. He's very, very, very supportive. He's one of my close partners, like my brother, considered like my brother. You know, you're always gonna have another brother from another mother. And I have quite a few of them, and this guy here is one of them.
We definitely brother action. We don't necessarily always agree, but we agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's a damn show. Hey, look, like brothers, drag out. Well, I ain't talking that ninja for a minute. You know what I mean? But you don't fall out. Because like he said, relationships is everything about building relationships. What you was talking about, the relationship you build with one of your good partners, one of you guys, and then y'all become good partners. I know you referred him to me too.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of fixing and flipping as well. And in fixing and flipping, I just want to talk about how many just out the boom, because I know how many, I want you to tell me if you want to. How many would impress me, you guys? How many fix and flips you done did since 2000, what you got into it? Well, really 2000, let's say since 2015, 2016.
Well, actually, I really did my first fix and flip and sold it. And I started in 2017 and I sold the first one in 2018. And from then I did 11 fix and flips from between the time then and now. And I've also, for the finish up before the year out, God willing, about another 6 of them.
Yeah. And then I know you shared something to me too with the fixing and flipping. You fixing and flipping. Now you say, hey, Jay, I'm going to start holding my properties.
Yeah, I mean, the game plan for me now is fixing and flipping them to myself. But it's really called a fix and hold. They call it the bird system, where you able to find a good property at a good cost. You're able to, with cost meaning purchase and rehab, and you're able to get it into a certain percentage to where you're able to refinance and hold on to it and have the property start to be cash flow for you. And my cash flow is Airbnb. I'm a big supporter of Airbnb. I believe in it. I'm able to get good lucrative income, and it's for short term. I believe in the short term as far as rentals. Short term, I deal with short term because you're able to keep up with the property better than long term. It's not like with long term rentals, you have people in there that have year, 2-year rental, and as a landlord, you don't really have the time to go in and inspect the properties to notice any damages or anything that's going on. And if they're not calling you saying that you need to fix something, you don't really know exactly what they're doing to your property as far as maintenance, tearing it up, just wear and tear, period. So I really believe in like the short-term rentals because you're able to get you're able to keep up with your properties. You know what's going on. You're able to keep the maintenance going. You're able to keep your property up. So in 10 years, your property's still looking like it was 10 years ago when you started with it, after you fixed and flipped it, because you were able to keep up with it.
Yeah, when you talk about landlord, I tried to be a landlord a couple of times, and neither time worked for me, because I know back in Houston I had some properties, and unfortunate situation with some good friends of mine that I love dearly. It didn't turn out right. So I developed a motto. And my motto is, which get back to the landlord, is never help. I'm not going to say help. I would never help. Me. I can't get nobody no advice, but me. I never help a person in foreclosure or who's behind their rent come out of foreclosure. Or loan, let me rephrase that. I never loan them no money to come out of foreclosure or to catch up with their rent. Because if they behind and they healthy, not if they sick or in BK or something, but if they healthy, because the chances are if they're in that situation for whatever reason, they're probably going to stay in that situation even when you try to help them out, they'll probably flow back in. And me, I was 30 years in the business, and when you help somebody come up in foreclosure or either behind on their rent or something when they fall behind and they healthy, they ain't gonna come out of it. You're gonna fall out of favor with that person because with that particular person, they didn't understand the finances. And I'm gonna go and give it back to you. I also had a property in Hidden Hills off the golf course before, back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And I know one of the things I told you, I had somebody in there, and I put this young lady in the house. Her first house, she was very happy about it. And then her son came to me. And he's with his wife, he's with his daughter. With his wife. I think he had a daughter, son. I can't remember which one it was. But this is my bad taste with landlord, for me anyway. And when I put him in the property, she told me not to. She advised me not to do it. She said, Mr. Menifee, I understand that's my son. I know you like helping people because I'm big on helping people, as y'all know about with the foundation. So anyway, I put him in the property. He gave me a check. I was so busy. At that particular time, I had offices in like 3 different states: Houston, Atlanta, Louisiana, and I'm moving around in 6 different states, closing loans. So when I put this particular person, this young man, I don't want to call him name. When I put him in the property, when he gave me the check, he gave me his check, and I might have told my secretary to make a deposit later on because I forgot he gave it to me. I'm not the type of person that's gonna be calling you because I'm too busy. So when I did that, they deposit. I finally deposited the check like maybe a month or so later, and by that time it was time for them to pay rent again. And again, I wasn't keeping up with that because I was very busy. So the check came back. I told the secretary to give him a call and let him know. He said, okay, I'll bring you another check. By that time, 2 months was into it. He was supposed to be paying his second rent, but he had been in the house now, I want to say almost 90 days. He brought me another check again. I didn't rush to deposit it because I was busy. We deposited that check, and when we deposited that check, it bounced again. So now I got 2 bounced checks, and this particular person was in the property for 90 days and going now. So I shared with the young man. I called him, and I called his mother because I was cool with his mother. And she said, Mr. Menifee, I told you my son ain't no good. Basically, he ain't shit. I love him. That's my only child, and he ain't shit. I said, okay, I dig that like the grave. I said, however, this ninja ain't paid. So, and you know, I wasn't the type of landlord that's gonna be calling you, haggling you, taking you to court. I don't do all that. So, what I did, I called him up and said, hey, baby boy, I got 2 bounce checks, been in the property. I know you married, but I need you to make sure you clear these up, because you're in the property. And mind y'all, he was actually on the golf course. When he walked out his backyard, the property that I had purchased, he was sitting on the golf course. So he said, okay, I'll pay you. So he said, okay. Brought me another bad check. But this time, I had the secretary to go to his bank to see if he could clear it. He couldn't. So I called him. I said, hey, check this out. I see you keep playing with me, and you know how I am. I said, I'll tell you what. I want you to come and get this check. Get all your checks, and I just want you to just leave the property. He told me, I ain't leaving the property, and you can't do nothing about it. He got smart with me. Now, mind you, only thing ringing in my mind now is, who to excuse the French, but hell, this is my pinpoint. If sensitive ears don't listen. Who this nigga think he is? So, out of respect, I called his mama. Hey, I understand what you told me. I didn't tell you to deal with him, but this nigga tripping now. You basically tell me to hell with me, I ain't paying you. So he went on full-fledged, I ain't paying you. I said, okay. So I gave him a call. I said, hey, check this out, baby boy. Let me introduce you to the other side. Me, the other person. I said, I don't call cops, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. By the time I get to my property, you need to be out of there. He said something slick. I said, listen, you need to be out of the property, or you need to call the cops, because I'm coming to put you out of the property. Period, point blank. I ain't finna do all that court shit. So he said, whatever. I said, okay. You know what I did, Riyadh. I got up and I went over there. And he was gone, y'all. So he was gone. I'm cool, thinking everything cool. Got the property together, and I put another renter in there. And they was actually good all the way up until the time I sold it. Well, it was a little bit something with that too, because the woman tried to sleep with me and to pay her last bill. I'm like, bitch, you crazy. So, so anyway, long story short, before we get back to the special guest, telling you how my landlord experiences went. So, what I did then, ended up selling the property. So when I sold the property, like 2 months later, I received the envelope. 2 months later, I received the envelope in the mail. And well, not in the mail. It was a UPS special delivery. So the special delivery, I opened it up. It was a little tape, a little recorder tape. So I popped a little recorder tape in, and the recorder tape had that conversation of me telling him he need to call the police on me if he don't let out my property. So I listened to the tape, and this is how deep this went. When I got the tape, I want to say about 10, 15 minutes later, as if he knew when the UPS was going to drop off the package. What he did then was call me and say, did you get that tape? I'm like, what the fuck is this? He said, man, you know who this is. I said, oh yeah? He said, if you don't pay me $10,000, I'ma sue you for threats and everything else, because you threatened me. And you made me fear. I'm like, what the fuck? Now, I ain't gonna talk about the experience in Houston. I had something not like that, but I had the cop called on me out there as well. However, when the young man did that shit, well, I ain't gonna call him young, but the little punk did that. What I did then, I called my attorney. At the time, my attorney was Fini ATN. Never forget, I called her. Say, hey, Miss Benefit, what you got going on now? Because I always had something going on. Fini ATN. She say, I listened to the tape. And the tape said, she listened to it, she said, well, he's blackmailing you. So anyway, long story short, she contacted him and said, we don't get you for trying to extort him out of money, trying to do this. So that just put a bitter taste in my mouth from that day till today. I don't have the tolerance or the patience or, I ain't gonna say the people skills, I ain't got the temperament to deal with nobody like that. So now you saying you with landlord and you short-term leasing. How, from you going to fixing and flipping, getting rid of the properties fast, and I remember your condo, you had somebody, you ain't had an unpleasantry that I had with being a landlord. How do you really experience the landlord situation? And if something like that happened to you, what would you have done?
Well, from my experience, it's a system that you have to pay, that you have to put in effect. That I didn't develop, that was already developed. You know, these apartment complexes, they rent to a lot of people, so they have the system down as far as how rent go. They give you dates to where rent ain't paid. If rent ain't paid, then you start showing paperwork. They do the scare tactic, and it works. You know what I mean? It's never personal. They never get personal with the people that's staying in your properties. It's never personal. It's never where you have to feel sorry. It's never like it would have never got to the point to where they're 90 days in a property without any paperwork being filed on them. Like it's a system, and you have to stand real firm with the system. And it's a system that was already developed. You didn't even have to develop it yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Before you was able to purchase houses, we stayed and we rented from people. Mm-hmm. And we did the right thing.
Right.
But we also know that those people that we probably rented from will file paperwork. They never gave us the same chance that we was giving somebody else to play games with us. I don't want to do long term because I don't want to. I have long term. Like I have one property now that started off with Airbnb last year. Last year, the beginning of last year.
Let's play football.
And then the Airbnb people, they have been staying there for like a month or so, and they wanted to switch to just paying one flat rate without having to go through all the fees. So I allowed it to happen, and they pay very well. They pay good, but they're starting to slow up as time goes. Like right now, they're slow. Now you have to start dealing. You didn't develop a relationship with them because you speak with them all the time. Oh, so death in the family, this, that, and the other. So now I'm at the part to where I'm being a landlord of what you're talking about that you don't want to do, and that's where I started making my decision that I didn't want to do any more long-term rentals. Right, you know what I mean? Right. I didn't want to do any more long-term rentals because I don't want to have to develop that relationship with a tenant or anything like that. If you're not hiring a company to intermediate for you, and you're doing it yourself, you're going to develop relationships and feelings, or however you want to call it, with the people that you have up in the property, and you let them start doing stuff slow. You're not charging them late fees. You're not charging them everything else, but that's not business. One of the guys that mentors me a lot, also the same person that sold me the first rental properties, he has a fee for everything. If you're late, you got a late charge. If you ain't on time, a late charge. I'm not playing. I'm going to file the paperwork when I need to. He's got the system that has already been implemented, and he's abiding by it. And this just got to abide by the systems, even with long-term or short-term rentals. It's right. The same thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with that 1,000%. Not 100, but 1,000. But your temperament got to be good for that too as landlord. No matter what kind of system they got in place, and Georgia is a true landlord state, meaning the landlord got all the rights.
No, that's not. But yeah, Georgia got all the Georgia had all the rights until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, they have the special mandate to where you can't put anybody out. And this is COVID hit March of 2020. This is 2021, and that mandate's still holding. So you got people that been in that place probably since last year of 2020 in March that hasn't paid rent all the way up to now, and they're still able to ride. And you put them in the court system, and the judges and them was like, no. And you better not turn off them lights, and you better not turn off that electricity, you better not turn off that water.
See, that's where that temperament would have kicked in. That's where that temperament would have kicked back in. Because I can't do none of that.
But the thing about it is, we still playing chess, we still playing smart. Jay, we've been around for a long time. You know, the temperament can get us in trouble that we don't need. So
that's why you're right.
That's why you can't necessarily win the temperament because you're not gonna win.
No, you ain't gonna win, but see, that's why I learned now. I don't put myself in predicaments and situations where the temperament might flare up. Like I'm quite sure some things that you say, I won't put myself in this predicament because your temperament will flare up, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly why I want to get into short-term rentals. I mean, you don't develop no relationship. I want daily. Your money be right there. You're able to keep up with the property. Yeah, you know, they're paying on daily rental. Maybe it's even if they're keeping it for a couple days at a time, it's still a daily rental.
Now,
and it's understood.
Right.
I'm just here for short term. I'm finna get on.
Well, here's one of the unique things that we talk about. Nothing unique, because I always say nothing new up under the sun. But it's coming from our background or where we come from, and I ain't gonna say the cards that we was dealt because that'll be saying they use as excuses. But we don't have to get into our background. But knowing our background, how you feel now about the past and knowing what you know now, do you regret or do you say, hey, it was just at the right opportune time, or maybe God, Allah, said, hey, this is time you mature enough to be investing and fixing and flipping? Because if you think when you was in your 20s, you think you could have been as mature and made the decisions that you make now, or do you think if you'd have been doing fixing and flipping and bumped into some of these type of issues, it would have been a different outcome?
I 100% believe in timing, no doubt about it. But I also believe in me and my capabilities, and I also believe in knowledge. So to say that is, at the time that I wasn't doing real estate, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
At the time when I wasn't fixing and flipping, I didn't know anything about it. At the time when I wasn't doing rental properties, I didn't know anything about it. But if somebody was brought it to my attention and taught me it, I think I would have been a monster.
Right.
Just like I was able to attack on it now. Like I've really been into the fixing and flipping and investing and holding like real serious for the last 3 years.
Right.
And I've accumulated so many properties within that short period of time. So I think if I was introduced that back then, I think it would have been the same thing.
And you not to put no business out there, but I know the properties you done fix and flip, and a lot of young men and women out there who's trying to get into the business. Before we say something about that, I know I always say if you go into business, if you ain't going into business to touch $1 million, you do not need to go into business. You need to know if you're a true entrepreneur or if you're an employee. And I know what you done touch, because you do business together. You done did well over several million in fixing and flipping, because you don't fix and flip problem. And then, hey, guy, he put in money and he make all his properties immaculate. Do you think the money that you made in this business, in the fixing and flipping, as far as the sales, and just give you an example of the sales, everybody. Just say if you bought a property and it was $400,000, you fixed and flipped it and you sold it for $700,000. You did 2 of them like that. Now your sales for that year is $1.4 million. So talk about in 1 year, not over the 3 years, or you can just talk about the 3 years. How many millions you think accumulated in sales that you have already done? Now I'm talking about as far as if it costs this, the ARV after repair value became this. So just say, like I said, 700,000. You bought it for 400. You sold it for 700,000 because you, of course, you might have invested 200,000, 100,000 profit, whatever. But as far as sales, how many millions have you done? And was it easy?
I mean, I'll just put an example like this. I've said I've done 10 properties between now and then that I fixed and flipped and sold. And the average property I've sold for around 300,000. That's the average price point. I've sold some for up to 700,000 all the way down to 180,000. So you can just put the price point together. So, and it's by 10. So even if you take the lowest point and times it by 10, you already got like 1.8 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, hey, so you guys out there about to fixing and flipping, but is this a part-time job?
No. It's actually it started off to be a part-time, but it's turning really to be a full-time job for me. But it's just not about fixing and flipping for me. It's a portfolio thing for me. It's short income, long income, and fixing and flipping. It's a long game for me. It's not really necessarily like I'm looking for a paycheck. I don't get a paycheck. I create the paychecks. So it's just like a long-term game for me as far as the real estate is concerned.
Another thing I always talk about on my podcast, and I actually teach, as you know, when I say teach, not a teacher in a school, but here at Pinpoint, I like to educate teens and young adults, and then I got a program called ISTV program. Because everybody want to be entrepreneurs. Everybody want their own business, especially these millennials. Everybody want to do this. How did you know at this particular time you are an employer? Because I know you are an employer because you had your tax company, you did very successful at that as well. How did you know I'm an employer and not an employee? Like you said, you create your own paychecks. A lot of people don't understand that. When you work for yourself, you don't get no paycheck until you close whatever deal that you're working on for your business. So how did you know that you was fit for this business and that you know that you are a true employee, meaning having an understanding, I got to pay these taxes, I got to pay my employees, I got to pay my contractors, I got to get up in the morning, whether I'm tired, hungover or not, to get ready to go pay these materials. How did you know that was in your blood, your DNA, your bloodline?
My background as far as where I come from, my mother and father was both self-employed. Not very successful, but was self-employed.
It's in your DNA.
So it was probably already something that was embedded in my DNA most definitely. I come from a big family, and 85% of my family is self-employed.
Right.
Entrepreneurs. You know
right.
what I mean? Yeah.
So you just took it basically and perfected it.
Yeah, I just took it. I mean, I had a job before. I had a couple jobs.
Did
but
you?
Yeah, a couple jobs. It was long
Way
time
before
ago.
you met me.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I don't know that shit, but go ahead.
I had a couple jobs. But you know what? Not to take nothing away from it. Corporate world, college, all that, I think it's very good education. Because what it does is it teaches you the forefront of how to really run a business. These corporations and shit has really fucking like maximized, has really been put down. They done spent so much money in running a business that you can learn everything from them and getting paid while you're doing it. And set your time as to hey, I can take everything I know from them and start my own business. I want to say that because it's corporate world is structured. Like I got a friend of mine. He started off same time I started off with the same age. I chose to go the entrepreneur route, which is a longer route. I want y'all to know it's not the shorter route. It's definitely the longer route. He started off working for a company, major company like Coca-Cola. He stayed at Coca-Cola for a while. Then he went to another company called Diageo, which is another liquid producer, but it's alcohol instead of soda. You know what I mean? Both of them mass produce largest amount, but what they do have is structure on far as how to run a business, how to spend money on marketing, how to spend money on product, how to get costs down, where to spend money for cost. You know what I mean? But what it did was it trained him on how to start his successful construction company. He stayed with them long enough to where he had all the ideas, all the everything, the whole structure and everything, and then he started his construction company. And now his construction company is very successful. And to say that is, he got the education from college, and he got the education from doing corporate world to get to the next level as far as his business is concerned. And it jumped him a head start. They got him ahead pretty quick. Or when it was time for him to go into being self-employed or a business owner, he already had the structure to actually do it. See, a lot of business owners don't have no structure, but they start off owning the business. And you see that's why a lot of businesses fail, why a lot of businesses don't produce any money for long periods of time, because it's structure that comes with owning and operating the business. It's money management, it's budgets, and it's stuff that you have to stay real tight with. It's employees, it's everything. It's relationships, it's everything. You got to make your people that's making you money, your team that's making you money, you got to make them feel good about making you money. You know what I mean? It's a whole structure of things. So to say that, building a business and running a business is not easy. And if you're able to go through college and work for a corporate world and see how the structure and stuff would go, I say please do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, same thing I do. That's why I got my daughter in school.
Yeah.
'Cause I ain't have no structure.
Yeah, I didn't have no structure either.
Right.
I freestyled all the way.
We freestyled until you got it right.
We fumbled and bumbled.
Yeah, that's for sure. And one of the main things I tell people all the time, I just took what I knew in the past, the hustle, because when I teaching, when I go mentor and teach our programs, IRE program, inmate reentry programs in the jail. One thing I like to share with them, that they are stimulators. It stimulates because most people who hustle, they are running a business whether they know it or not. And during their hustle, what they're doing is generating income, buying businesses, and then they're employing people. And so actually you are truly stimulating the economy. But as far as the stimulating the economy, you might be doing it in the wrong way to where they say you're breaking the law, same laws that they break, by the way. But nevertheless, while you stimulating the economy and you don't have the structure, as you say, how did you manage to put structure and incorporate it into your business while you were freestyling? And I know it took some losses to get you there, but what made you snap and say, of course over the time the losses would, but what was that one deal to say, man, let me just restructure this the right way to where now you're seeing larger profit margins in your business?
I ask questions. My biggest thing is I see someone that's doing what I think I need to be doing, and I ask them what are they doing. And I'm asking, I'm constantly asking. I'm constantly being mentored, not by one individual, a few individuals. I'm constantly asking questions. JL can tell you now, I'm constantly asking questions on what I need to do this, how I need to do that. I never stop educating myself. And that's one thing that you never do, is you never stop educating yourself on any business that you're into. Because everything changes, time changes. Short-term rentals became a big thing. It wasn't a big thing back then. You know what I mean? Time changes, so you have to be able to adapt and keep moving. So you got to constantly educate yourself on what's the new thing to come. You got to always think forward of like, what's the future going to bring? What's going to come? What new companies is moving here? What are they going to bring? What big businesses are doing this? What they're going to bring? Who going out of business? What the economy going to need? So you got to keep, you know what I mean? It's just constantly educating yourself. And I'm not going to say it's one particular deal that drove me to that point. It's just me always educating myself, looking at somebody else to think that, okay, I might need to be doing what he's doing, and ask. And it's education. And you can get that education by paying, or you can get it by free. But one thing about it, you have to get it. You have to keep educating yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I know, I don't know if you remember, but every single person that I ever employed back in the 1990s and the early 2000s, this book came out. When this book came out, I can't remember when it came out. I want to say 1999 or something like that. But when the book came out, it was called Who Moved My Cheese? It was about these four mice. It's a real short read, but it was very, very important read because it was talking about change, changing with time, moving through the corridors. I bought that book. I done bought that book, I know, more than 100 times. And on top of purchasing that book of Who Moved My Cheese, I made every employee before I hired you read that book and tell me how it is to you. And tell me how you understand it. Because that was important to me, understanding how to do that. Because in this industry that I'm in, you got to be able to change time. You can't get stuck in the corridors. And I also used to make them look at boiler room. So it was two things, boiler room and that. The boiler room was a movie about stocks. And they had an ABC rule, always be closing. Of course, in the real estate business, whether you're on the mortgage side or whether you're on the real estate side, you need to be doing an ABC, always be closing. So they had to watch that movie and they had to read that book. To bring me to our last question before we close it out. Now, I know you done made changes in your business, RMN Construction. Now, people could come to you because I know I'm trying to refer people to you. How would you, I don't want to say mentor, because education ain't free, as I did a podcast about that before. It ain't no game, it's education. If a person wanted to talk to you, would you put yourself in a position where you can educate them, of course for a fee, not for free, educate them on how to start their first project or fix it and flip it? And if you do, how involved would you be with their first project, and how many projects will you do with them before you let them fly? Or you could tell, we can't make nobody do nothing, but you can say, okay, I'm done. I know you got it now.
Right. So I've becoming a mentor to other folks as other folks has become to me. When you take on a project, when you take on a client or somebody that you're helping to push the button as far as real estate, first of all, you want to make sure that they're serious. And fees is really about them being serious. That's why the fees come in there. It's a whole type of ways that I can make money with the person as far as on real estate. But fees is a way that lets you know that person that you finna waste your time or put your time in, because you're not gonna waste it, is that they serious. So that's where we implement as far as a person paying for knowledge as far as starting to flip. I have clients that have come up to me and say, okay, I'm ready to start a flipping. What do I need to do? I said, first of all, we need to sit down and talk and decide what direction you want to go as far as real estate and flipping is concerned. Do you want to purchase a house and you want to flip it and you want to sell and make proceeds, or do you want to purchase a house, hold it, and be a rental? You know what I mean? What direction you're going to go with there? And then from there, that's when we talk about my knowledge as far as what I'm be able to provide for you. And what I'll be able to provide for a person with those fees is I'm going to take them from the step-by-step all the way through on how to do a fix and flip, on how to do a fix, flip, and buy and hold, anything that has to do with the real estate from my knowledge. And I started from beginning to end. And I let them know that these fees have to be paid because it's going to take up quite a bit of my time. I'm going to take you to...
And they have to invest in themselves.
Yeah, they have to invest in themselves.
Like
but the education I'm going to give them, like, it's a small fee for the amount of education that I'm going to actually give you. Because I'm going to teach you how to purchase a property. You gain a lot of money on purchasing. So you can't just purchase a property to say, oh, I know how to buy a property. No, it's the techniques on number. It's really numbers on how to purchase a property. Because if you purchase a property too high, you're not going to make any money. If your rehab is too high, you're not going to make any money. If you're not going to the right lender, you're not going to make any money. If you don't have any experience and you're going to a lender that want to lend you some money, they're going to make you put an extremely lot of money down.
A larger percent down.
A larger percent down because you don't have any experience. I'm giving you an experience. I'm giving you everything that I already have, from the architect, from the seller from a purchase. I'm gonna start you off with the house, the architect, the appraiser, the surveyor. the lender, the closing attorney, the contractors, how to work your budget, how to close this deal off,
Right.
the little things at the end to get your home sold.
Right. Because I noticed a lot of your properties, once you complete them, you already have a buyer ready to smash them out. Even before the market was volatile, as they say, it was a buyer's market, meaning it was kind of slow. It was home. You was always able to, when you complete your property, within that 30 days, your property is gone.
Yeah, I never had a problem on it because it's detailed. At the end, you got to be able to put in there what buyers is looking for, what buyers want, and spend the money for it. I'd rather have a smaller profit and a faster return than a larger profit and a longer return. So that's almost back to the time versus money thing. I'd rather go on and be able to get rid of the property in a time enough basis and get on to the next project and move them faster than sitting there waiting because I want to get a larger return on worse work.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Meaning that I'd rather go on and put the money in to get a person excited about buying this property than not putting the money in and be like, okay, I'm gonna do you a favor and buy this property. Because that's what a lot of buyers in the market really do, is they selling for a property because they probably couldn't get the other property or this other property. They didn't win the bids on them, and okay, I'll settle for this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's today, guys. I appreciate you missing the bar. Hey, let me just call him by first name. Fuck all that formal shit. Appreciate it, partner.
Yeah,
Reed,
for sure.
Reed, for coming out here to sit up here with us, because I've been trying to get my partner out here for a while to just talk and share his experiences, because I've seen him in the beginning and going through it. And like I say, he's been very successful. And not that he ever tried to be on candid camera, so that's another thing. Never. So he did it strictly because I'm his partner. I'm his brother. Fuck all that, we're brothers. And I appreciate that more than anything. But I want to share that a lot of people out there who want to start doing they fixing and flipping and who want to do that, to understand back into business what Pinpoint's talk about is having an understanding of business when you're saying you want to go into business for yourself. In whatever aspect, if it's selling cotton candy, understand as he said the structure of it. Everything has a structure for you to equal up into being a successful. So at Pinpoint today, we want to thank RMN Construction. If you want to tell them how to get in touch with you, just in case anybody want out there to try to get in touch with you to try to help them with a fix and flip, do you want to give them contact information or they?
Oh yeah, I can always be reached at RMN Construction. RMN Investment Group. RMN email is RMN INVEST@gmail, or you can reach me at 678-333-9072.
All right, hey. Always at Pinpoint Podcast, we try to bring you an education about business. No matter what level of business you're on, being in business is an understanding where you know you got to have an understanding on what you're getting into. Because like he stated, like I always state, being an entrepreneur ain't as easy as you say it is, because you coveting what somebody else say. Hey, until next time, thank y'all for joining Pinpoint as always. At Pinpoint Podcast. Salute. Oh, and by the way, we celebrate my partner's birthday as well.
My birthday.
That what's up.